Chapter 1. Monday, April 15, 1912. 2 a.m. on the deck of RMS Titanic. The Titanic was sinking. The gigantic ship had hit an iceberg. Land was far, far away. 10-year-old George Calder stood on the deck. He shivered because the night was freezing cold, and because he was scared. More scared than he'd ever been before. More scared than when Papa swore he'd send George to the army school, far from everything and everyone. More scared even than the time the Black Panther chased him through the woods back home in Millerstown, New York. The deck of the Titanic was packed with people. Some were running and shouting, "Help us! Take my baby! Jump!" Some just plain screamed. Children cried. A gunshot exploded across the deck. But George didn't move. Just hold on, he told himself, gripping the rail, like maybe he could hold up the ship. He couldn't look down at that black water. He kept his eyes on the sky. He'd never seen so many stars. Papa said that Mama watched over him from heaven. Could Mama see him now? The ship lurched. "We're going down," a man shouted. George closed his eyes, praying this was all a dream. Even more terrible sounds filled the air, glass shattering, furniture crashing, more screams and cries, a bellowing sound like a giant beast was dying a terrible death. George tried to hold the rail, but he lost his grip. He tumbled, smashing his head on the deck. And then George couldn't see anything. Even the stars above him seemed to go black. The Titanic sank on April 14th. This year will be the 109th anniversary. I'm going to read some interesting facts from the eyewitness book, Titanic, by Simon Adams. Almost identical to its sister ship, the RMS Olympic, the Titanic was truly vast. That means really big. The ship could carry up to 3,547 passengers and crew. When fully laden, the Titanic topped 73,924 tons, making it the heaviest ship afloat at that time. The style and luxury of the internal fittings meant that it was also the finest. Its title of RMS, Royal Mail Ship, was highly suitable for such a regal ship. Did you know that it was a mail ship? In its fitting out basin, the Titanic was transformed into a floating palace with little more than 8 months. In little more than 8 months. That's not very long. No expense was spared in making the Titanic the most luxurious liner afloat. All the fixtures were bought brand new or specifically made for the ship, and everything was designed to keep the passengers comfortable and entertained during the trip. Did you know that the Titanic had a reading room? With plenty of space and comfortable chairs, the wide-paneled reading room was an ideal place to write a letter or read a book, a selection of which was available from the ship's large library. Pretty cool. What's next? The Titanic was carrying mail for the British Royal Mail. Mail sacks were stored in the hold with the luggage. The 5 clerks working in the hold were among the first to notice water pouring through the hole. Surviving the ice. In 1879, Arizona, the largest liner of its day, hit an iceberg head-on off the coast of Newfoundland. The bow shattered, but the ship managed to limp backward to Newfoundland without casualties. And history repeats. In April 1935, the steamer Titanic met an iceberg in the same area as the Titanic had done 23 years earlier. Crew member William Reeves had a premonition seconds before the iceberg came into view and yelled, "Danger ahead!" to the navigator, who quickly reversed the engines and stopped the ship. Warning message. As the Titanic steamed ahead, it received 9 messages warning of ice. Although not all of the warnings reached the bridge, the message from the German ship America above was passed to Captain Smith in person. The night of April 14, 1912 was clear and bitterly cold on the North Atlantic Ocean. The sea was calm and still. Because it was so clear, everyone thought there would be plenty of time to avoid any obstacles. But large ships at full speed do not turn quickly or easily, and when lookout Fred Fleet spotted an iceberg at about 11:40 p.m., it was too late to avoid a collision. At 12:05 a.m., 25 minutes after the collision, Captain Smith ordered the lifeboats to be uncovered. For the next 2 hours, total confusion reigned. There had been no lifeboat drill since leaving Southampton, and no one knew what to do. Not one officer realized that the lifeboats could be lowered fully laden, that means completely full. Had they done so, a total of 1,178 people could have been saved, rather than 706. In distress. As the lifeboats filled up, the 2 radio operators tirelessly sent out distress messages asking for help. Among the ships that picked up the Titanic's pleas were the Olympic, the Baltic, and the Carpathia. Last moments. At 2:18 a.m., the Titanic's lights went out. The ship was almost vertical and straight up and down, its bow pointing toward the seabed. The ship snapped between the back 2 funnels, causing the stern section to break free, before it also began to sink. At 2:20 a.m., the Titanic finally slipped from view. The Carpathia is the ship that rescued the people. The ice field surrounding the survivors meant that it was too dangerous for the Carpathia to move in too close. So the exhausted survivors had to row toward the stationary ship. It took 4 hours to rescue all of the survivors. All hands on deck. As the survivors clambered on board the Carpathia, they were met by passengers and crew offering blankets and hot food and drinks. Some were taken to cabins, others huddled on the deck and tried to come to terms with what had happened. Here's a cool fact. Melvina Dean. Melvina Dean was the youngest survivor of the disaster at only 7 weeks old, but she lived to be the last living survivor, dying in 2009 at 97. In later life, she spoke at many Titanic events and made several radio and television appearances. Here's a picture of her. Here's some more cool facts. Did you know you can smell icebergs before you see them? Minerals give off a distinct smell as the ice melts. And the original plans allowed room for 64 lifeboats. However, the owners and builders of the Titanic reduced the number to 16 to provide more space for passengers on the boat deck. They added 4 lifeboats with collapsible sides. And let's see. How many lifeboats are there on ships today? Modern cruise ships have enough lifeboats for 25% more people than are on board. So we do a much better job today. All right. Again, cool stuff, but wow. When I imagine myself trying to survive the sinking of the Titanic, I think about things like my swimming abilities and tactics for how to survive in cold temperatures. I like to be prepared for the unexpected. So I enjoy learning how to do stuff like riding horses and archery in my free time. You never know when something you do for a hobby may turn into a skill you need in the future. Do you have any hobbies that could help you in a survival situation? Let's read our last book from the series, The California Wildfires, 2018.